I don't really know if you can see violence per se in a design. There are obviously lines that indicate that there is a potential of severity in the way in which action can be taken. But I think what you're really looking for is the phenomena of amplification. If you have an open center in design, and somebody steps into your aura and they define that center for you, what happens isn't simply that you take in their information. It doesn't even really work specifically that way. Basically what's happening is that through connections, through channels, that your center is becoming active. But it's becoming active as an amplification of what you're taking in, an amplification. In other words, it's not the same energy at all. So for example, the classic is the emotional system. I have an open emotional center. I only have one gate unconscious out of my emotional system. And when I had my youngest son, when my youngest son came into the world, he made 7 connections to my emotional system, and he was deeply emotional. And I remember at the time telling students of mine that it was one of the great tests of awareness for me, was to be able to deal with that level of emotional input, and that level of emotional input in which my system amplifies that. I mean, if you're a musician who's ever experimented with electrical instruments, you know that amplifiers are both positives and negatives. That is, amplification can be a way of making things simply louder for others. It can also lead to distortion. And what happens in most human beings is distortion. Take the example of an unaware father and son. And the son is emotional and the father is not. And the child is upset with the father. The father is going to be even more upset with the child because the father is going to amplify that emotional energy. That amplification system can get out of whack. It's when things can get out of control. It's where most violence comes from. I mean, most violence is rooted in out-of-control amplification. It's just the way it is. And you see awareness? It was so obvious to me what kind of emotional energy I was taking in. And that I could see very easily within me this, ancient animal mechanism of, the potential anger in me as a manifester coming out. The awareness of where that energy was coming from, why it felt the way it did, was transforming for me. This is something that, when it comes to ideas of, that we should all live in peace and we should all respect and love each other, all of that is well and good in a world of awareness. In a world without awareness, just simple mechanisms, the connecting of emotional and unemotional beings. After all, 51% of humanity have emotional definition, 49% unemotional. This is a constant phenomena that goes on this planet. And because we're designed to be attracted to what we are not, the unemotional and the emotional are attracted to each other. And it leads to a great deal of distortion on the emotional plane, on the sexual plane, on the physical plane. And it's about a lack of awareness. It's good to understand mechanics. It changes a lot of things in terms of the way in which you can live on this plane.